A weapon built to stop smugglers has finally hit the seas. The United States Navy is testing a thermobaric vacuum bomb to disable fast, drug-running boats, a move that could reshape maritime counter-drug operations while raising urgent legal and civilian risk questions. Could this vacuum bomb change the fight against drug boats forever? Or will it spark even more controversy on the high seas? Join us as we unveil the capabilities of the new vacuum bomb that the United States just tested. The United States has taken the fight against narcotics to a whole new level. Tensions boiled over recently when the U.S. military struck a vessel it claimed belonged to Venezuelan drug traffickers heading toward American shores. But that was just the beginning. The president also announced a second strike in international waters, reporting multiple casualties among the smugglers. Authorities mentioned that the video captured large amounts of narcotics floating in the water after the blast, while a short clip showed the boat erupting in flames. These strikes are part of a broader U.S. push to disrupt maritime drug routes. Following earlier patrols and the deployment of warships to the southern Caribbean, authorities have increasingly relied on targeted strikes to stop the flow of fentanyl and cocaine. A prior operation that killed 11 people drew firm support from some lawmakers who argued that neutralizing suspect vessels was necessary to protect U.S. security. But as expected, Caracas reacted with outrage, turning the focus from drugs to diplomacy. The Venezuelan president denounced the attacks as aggression and vowed to defend national sovereignty, warning that U.S. actions had pushed relations from tense to broken. In a provocative display, Venezuelan warplanes flew near a U.S. destroyer, illustrating the very real risk of miscalculation at sea. American officials responded with a stern warning that any aircraft posing a clear threat would be intercepted, raising the specter of a dangerous standoff. Inside Washington, the administration framed the strikes as carefully targeted and supported by intelligence. The president insisted there was recorded evidence of drug cargo floating in the ocean after the blast, and argued that recent naval actions had reduced maritime trafficking. But he also acknowledged that drugs continued to cross the border by land and said the United States would press its campaign on multiple fronts. Not everyone accepted the strikes at face value. Legal scholars noted that using deadly force in international waters raises complex questions under maritime and human rights law. They warned that attacks on vessels without the clear consent of the flag state could violate international norms and create a precedent fraught with legal risk. Observers pointed out that confirming drug carriage and ensuring civilian safety are difficult at sea. Misidentifying a target or causing collateral civilian harm could produce severe diplomatic blowback. The debate spilled into public statements. Some U.S. politicians defended the action as justified against narco-terrorists, urging more aggressive measures to stop smuggling networks. Others urged caution, stressing the need for solid evidence and for preserving international law. In Mexico and Latin America more broadly, officials and analysts warned that unilateral use of force in sovereign waters would damage cooperation on migration, security, and trade. The Venezuelan government vowed to reject any foreign military intervention. Its leader framed the U.S. actions as open hostility, saying Caracas would fully exercise the right to defend its territory. That posture proved the diplomatic cost of forceful anti-drug tactics. Even if they disrupt specific shipments, they risk severing the very cooperation needed for long-term solutions. For now, both sides signaled readiness to press their positions. The U.S. emphasized a law enforcement rationale tied to border security. Venezuela framed the strikes as an attack on national sovereignty. Meanwhile, analysts warned that maritime strikes, even if tactically effective in the short term, could widen regional tensions and complicate options for coordinated anti-narcotics work. That debate soon shifted from politics to hardware, especially after reports that the Navy finally tested a new vacuum bomb system for disabling drug-running boats, sharpening attention on the weapons being used at sea. But before we get into its details, let's take a look at the bunker buster penetrator that has put fear in the hearts of many for years. One such munition worth noting is the BLU-116B, an air-delivered penetrator built to defeat deeply buried, reinforced targets. It is an air-delivered penetrator born from a decades-long push to defeat deeply buried and reinforced targets. Designed as a refined successor to earlier penetrating warheads, it was developed to punch through concrete and soil where standard general-purpose bombs could not, and to do so when fitted to a range of guidance kits or carried as a simple, unguided store. The program was driven primarily by the U.S. Air Force, with the Navy also involved in development work. Early design work in the mid to late 1990s produced what was initially called the Dense Metal Case Penetrating Warhead, later renamed the Advanced Unitary Penetrator and officially designated BLU-116/B. Lockheed Martin led the design contract awarded in the mid-90s, while Elwood National Forge emerged as the prime production contractor. The Naval Air Warfare Center at China Lake contributed engineering and testing support during development and into production. Several industry specialists supplied key subsystems, including advanced fuse and integration kits from major defense firms. Physically, the BLU-116B follows the slender, dart-like form of modern penetrator bombs. It is similar in external size to the BLU-109 family, but optimized for greater penetration. Its weight is close to 2,000 pounds and it carries a dense explosive fill. Open-source technical summaries suggest roughly 100 kilograms of PBXN, or similar high explosive, inside the hardened body. In tests, the munition demonstrated the ability to perforate many meters of reinforced concrete, a clear improvement over predecessors, and open-source reporting has rated its penetration capability as at least double that of the BLU-109 in comparable tests. A key innovation is the so-called elevator fuse concept. The bomb uses a programmable hard-target fuse that senses the weapon's passage through layers of material and times the detonation at the optimal depth to maximize internal damage. Contracts for the smart fuse were awarded to specialized manufacturers, reflecting the critical role of timing in defeating buried structures. BLU-116/B has been integrated with common precision guidance kits, allowing it to be employed as a guided munition in the GBU-24 family or adapted to JDAM and other standoff delivery systems. Serial production entered service in the late 1990s after dynamic sled and drop testing, and small quantities reportedly moved into operational inventories. Unconfirmed reports suggest the weapon may have been employed in limited operational trials in the Balkans and possibly in Afghanistan, though the Department of Defense has not publicly acknowledged combat USE. Production progressed through the following decade. By the end of 2011, industry estimates placed total output in the low thousands. Forecasts prepared at that time assumed continued modest annual production to sustain inventories and support retrofit programs for cruise missile and glide munition fleets. The BLU-116B program reflects a broader strategic concern that emerged in the 80s and 90s. Adversaries were increasingly building hardened, buried, or redundant facilities that older bombs could not defeat. The Air Force's accelerated development efforts aimed to give strike planners a tailored, repeatable solution for those targets without resorting to nuclear options or massive bomber packages. From a logistics and acquisition angle, the program involved multiple primes and subcontractors. Metal case fabrication and final assembly were handled by specialized foundries and manufacturing houses, while vendors supplied fuses, guidance and integration kits, and quality testing. That industrial base allowed for both a tailored weapon and the option to retrofit the design to multiple delivery platforms, including tactical aircraft and cruise missiles. Looking ahead at the time of the report, planners expected the BLU-116B to supplement existing penetrators and to remain a component of conventional deep strike arsenals. The munition's combination of a hardened casing, programmable fuse, and compatibility with precision guidance made it attractive for missions requiring surgical defeat of buried command nodes, underground storage, and reinforced structures. Although many technical details remain restricted, the public record makes clear that the BLU-116B represents an incremental but important step in conventional penetrator design, a weapon built to reach what older bombs could not. While it advances conventional penetrator design to reach hardened, buried targets, a very different class of weapons pursues its effect by other means. Thermobaric munitions. The U.S. thermobaric warheads, the BLU-121B, a later 2,000-pound thermobaric penetrator concept, and the better-known BLU-118/B, are both notorious for their devastating effects. These thermobaric weapons began as a crude but deadly idea, and slowly evolved into one of the most forceful blast technologies on the battlefield. Their roots trace back to the German army in World War II, which experimented with multi-barrel rocket launchers loaded partly with fuel gas. The early method was simple. Several rockets scattered a flammable cloud, and a final round ignited it. That crude sequence produced a large, sustained blast over a wide area. After those early attempts, development paused until renewed interest in the mid-1960s. During the Vietnam War, American forces adapted fuel-air concepts into aircraft-delivered weapons. Around the same time and later, the Soviet Union and Russia developed their own family of thermobaric munitions. Unlike Western practice that often kept the weapons air-delivered, Russian designs expanded into many sizes, from heavy aerial bombs down to rocket warheads and even infantry-scale rounds. Recent conflicts, including fighting in Afghanistan and Chechnya, showed these weapons in action and pushed further refinement. The United States developed its own family of fuel-air and enhanced blast weapons over decades. Early heavy examples include the BLU-82, a truck-deployed, high-blast bomb that used a jellied explosive slurry to clear minefields and blast obstacles. That weapon produced enormous overpressure and was used to shape battlefields by removing obstacles and denying enemy positions. More modern American thermobaric designs include precision glide and penetrating warheads equipped with thermobaric fills, and even adaptations for air-to-surface missiles. Combat experience in recent conflicts has pushed innovation in both camps. In Afghanistan and other theaters, Western forces deployed a newer generation of thermobaric warheads combined with guidance kits, enabling a large penetrating bomb to trade pure blast for selective, targeted destruction inside hardened structures. In some cases, lighter thermobaric warheads were integrated into missile systems to give helicopters and unmanned platforms a way to defeat enclosed targets without relying solely on kinetic penetration. In practice, the diversity of delivery options matters. A shoulder-fired thermobaric round can clear a room or cave entrance. A vehicle or helicopter-launched rocket can neutralize an enemy strongpoint. Multiple launch rocket systems and airdrop fuel-air bombs create area denial effects across entire districts. Commanders choose the tool based on range, target type, and desired effects, whether to collapse a bunker, to suffocate an enclosed force with heat and overpressure, or to create a sustained blast that destroys light fortifications. That range of capability raises tactical and ethical issues. Thermobaric munitions are optimized for enclosed and semi-enclosed spaces, where their prolonged pressure and intense heat are most deadly. They are highly effective against fortifications and armored vehicle bays, but create complex casualty and collateral risk profiles in urban areas. For planners and medics, this reality demands careful targeting, precise intelligence, and robust rules of engagement to limit civilian harm while achieving military objectives. Across battlefields, the lesson is clear. Thermobaric weapons are no longer exotic, strategic tools reserved for rare USE. They are integrated into squad kits, vehicle arsenals, rocket brigades, and air forces, giving military planners a layered set of options to prosecute targets from close range to standoff distances. That integration changes how fights are fought and how forces must prepare to counter and mitigate the devastating effects these weapons deliver. What sets thermobaric munitions apart is how they generate their destructive power. Instead of a single solid charge that explodes instantly, a thermobaric device first disperses a cloud of fuel, a vapor, fine droplets, or powdered compound into the target space. That cloud spreads into corners, gaps, and rooms. It seeps into bunkers, vehicles, and building interiors. When the fuel-air mix is ignited, it burns as a sweeping, high-temperature plasma, producing both intense heat and a prolonged pressure wave. Reported fuel ingredients range from industrial chemicals and oxidizers to highly energetic powders. Whatever the mixture, the fireball from a full detonation can reach temperatures in the neighborhood of 2,500 to 3,000 degrees Celsius. More important than peak heat is the blast dwell time. The pressure pulse lasts longer than that from a conventional charge. That longer overpressure subjects structures and people to repeated stress as the wave reflects inside confined spaces. In tight rooms or inside vehicle compartments, the effect can be catastrophic. Instead of relying only on a compact charge, these munitions disperse a flammable aerosol into the target area and then detonate it. The result is a broad, high-temperature fireball combined with a strong overpressure wave that can do more damage over a larger space than a similar weight of conventional explosive. For clinicians and combat medics, the most important consequence is primary blast injury. This term describes damage resulting directly from the pressure wave itself, not from shrapnel or impact. Organs that sit at boundaries between tissues of different density, air-filled lungs, hollow bowel loops, and the delicate structures of the inner ear are especially vulnerable. The pressure pulse can tear airways, rupture lung tissue, perforate bowel, and fracture tiny bones in the ear. Effects may be immediate and dramatic, or subtle at first and worsen over hours. The severity and pattern of injury depend on distance from the detonation, the victim's orientation relative to the blast, and whether they were in an open space or a confined room. Confined areas amplify the thermal and pressure effects. A thermobaric detonation in a building is therefore far more dangerous than the same munition detonated in open terrain. Medical teams should suspect serious internal injury when a patient presents after exposure, even if external wounds are minimal. The lungs are the most vulnerable to a blast wave. When it hits, the stress wave travels through the chest, damaging soft tissues, lobes of the lungs, and the small air sacs known as alveoli. These can rupture, leaking fluid and leading to what doctors call blast lung. In severe cases, this can fill the lungs completely, causing suffocation. Other complications include air bubbles in the bloodstream or air embolism, collapsed lungs or pneumothorax, or blood around the lungs or hemothorax. One of the dangerous aspects is that breathing problems may not appear immediately. In some cases, symptoms show up only hours or even 2 days later. Doctors monitor patients by listening to the lungs, checking oxygen levels, and using chest scans. Treatments include oxygen therapy, blood tests, and chest tubes if air or blood has collected around the lungs. The heart and blood vessels are also at risk. Air bubbles can enter the heart or arteries, disrupting blood flow and damaging the heart muscle. Studies on blast-exposed animals have shown bleeding in the heart tissue after exposure. Doctors look for signs like unusual heart sounds, bruises along blood vessels, or changes in heart rhythm. While there is no single cure, treatment focuses on careful monitoring and managing symptoms before they worsen. Blast pressure often damages hearing. In mild cases, the eardrum may rupture, causing pain and temporary hearing loss. In more serious cases, the bones of the middle ear can dislocate, or the inner ear itself can be damaged, leading to permanent deafness, dizziness, and balance problems. Doctors check patients' ears after an explosion to detect hidden injuries. While some ruptures heal naturally, severe cases often require surgery. The stomach and intestines can also be injured because of the gas pockets inside them. Mild injuries may cause bruising, but strong blasts can cause dangerous perforations, especially in weak spots like the ileocacal junction. These holes can leak bowel contents, leading to infections like peritonitis or heavy internal bleeding. Because these symptoms may appear up to 2 weeks after the blast, patients must be monitored closely. Surgery is usually required in severe cases. Perhaps the most serious effect is on the brain and nervous system. A blast wave can push air bubbles into brain arteries, leading to strokes, unconsciousness, or even death. Animal studies have shown air emboli inside the brain after blast exposure. Treatments include hyperbaric oxygen therapy, or, if unavailable, pure oxygen. Doctors also monitor consciousness levels and nerve functions carefully to spot early signs of brain injury. While the rumor has persisted that the United States is secretly testing a thermobaric vacuum bomb, no credible evidence supports the claim. Details of the recent maritime strikes remain tightly controlled, and the Pentagon has not confirmed the use of any such weapon. Still, the dramatic impact of the explosions has fueled speculation. Video clips showing boats erupting into towering fireballs and reports of narcotics scattered across the water seem too powerful for what many would expect from a routine interdiction of drug traffickers. The suggestion that a weapon designed for bunker-busting battlefields might have been used against cartel vessels stretches belief. If such a weapon were truly being tested in the Caribbean, the consequences would be severe. Beyond the immediate destruction, there would be international outrage, accusations of overreach, and questions about whether the U.S. had escalated a drug war into a demonstration of extreme military force. For now, the official narrative emphasizes kinetic strikes aimed at disrupting smuggling networks. That framing aligns with long-standing U.S. counter-narcotics doctrine, not experimental weapons testing. Yet the intensity of the footage, combined with the number of casualties reported, ensures that whispers of something more exotic will not disappear easily. Whether rumor or fact, the perception alone carries weight, fueling tensions with Venezuela and reminding the world that the line between law enforcement and warfare at sea can be dangerously thin. Thanks for watching. Before you go, click the link on your screen to check out another video. See you there.